Hello guys and welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to look at Star Citizen's TIE Fighter, Guardian MX, the new variant of Guardian, which is super cool and is packing quite a lot of firepower for a fighter, I have to admit. 4x4s is nothing to shake your head at. That's previous Connie territory. You know, Connies have always been able to punch above their weight, but now this thing seems to be able to do it as well. So quite a lot of firepower and quite a lot of missiles at the pilot's disposal. This thing is a killer, that's for sure. What I like about the Mirai Guardians is how they look. They really do. I think out of all of the fighters, don't get me wrong, there are some very cool fighters in the game. These particular Guardian ships just look superb. However, there are some nuances to that superb looking nature of the ship. Visibility in this thing is practically non-existent. You will need to rely on your sensors a lot to be effective in this ship, because as you can see, the bubble cockpit is awesome as it is, especially with the shield that comes down, and it has micro cameras in there so you can still see what you're doing. All very cool stuff, but you have the massive arms to which the guns are mounted, blocking your left and right, and the view behind is non-existent. So just be wary of that. If you're that kind of light fighter pilot who enjoys the Arrow and Gladius and has sort of a more modern canopy, let's say, visibility isn't going to be an issue in those little ships. And this one, yeah, it's pretty bad. Now, I didn't get to try the original Guardian. I just ran out of time. I rented it and you only had the 2 days during Invictus, and I had so much to record. I just didn't get round to recording it. I wanted to, because I wanted to do a direct comparison between the original Guardian and now this new variant, the MX. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. So there are differences between the two. They're both heavy fighters. The Guardian has a living quarters in the back. Well, this has been stripped out and has more components and things of that nature in the back of it, as opposed to a bed. So you'd have to weigh up the options of what's better for you. Killing stuff and then being able to log out, or just killing stuff and going back to base. I prefer the latter, and this thing will do it comfortably. You know, there is a lot going for this ship. Now, it looks fantastic, I've said that. I just like the design of it. It looks like an actual spaceship, something completely unique. Mirai have knocked it out the park, in my opinion. I think it looks absolutely superb. And it has thrust vectoring technology, which is also really cool, and it is fairly maneuverable. Okay, atmosphere, don't worry about it. You know, you could probably, I haven't tested this, it's just a theory, but I think you'd give light fighters a run for their money because of how maneuverable this thing is, you know. So very impressed with it. I do want one, but I can't justify it because I've already got an F8 and the F7A Mark II, you know, which are account bound, and I can only fly one fighter at a time. So as much as I want one, there's just no need for me to have one, which is a shame, because they are incredibly cool looking ships. As you can see here, we have the bubble canopy and 4x4s, okay, that slide out on rails, which is also a really cool mechanic. But it screams TIE Fighter. We know that this ship has definitely had some influence from Star Wars, which, by the way, is rubbish. Yeah, I said it. There's going to be a lot of hate comments, but it is what it is. So here you can see I'm nestled in this bubble canopy cockpit thing, and it's great. It's fundamentally a very cool place to sit, okay? And I love the armor shieldage that comes up and down. You can see the cameras there, so when the shields are down, you can still see through via those mini cameras attached to the front. And then of course we have these monstrosities, 4x4s. That is a lot of firepower, a hell of a lot of firepower, which I think people like that feeling of being overpowered a little bit. This is why the balancing of the ships is very important, that they try and get this right, but I don't want them to eradicate that feeling because it's very special. You know, I recently managed to get hold of an Idris, and I can tell you, just sitting in it, it will get nerfed, the Idris, but we'll talk about that in another video. We'll carry on my train of thought with this thing. Anyway, so the Guardian MX bubble canopy looks great. It's not practical. As you can see here, it's a nice snug fit. The visibility, again, You are surrounded by those weapons. Now, not to complain too much, they do look awesome when you're shooting them, and you can actually see rounds go on target. That's pretty cool. The MFDs are nice and clean in here. They're on like their own separate spindles. As we zoom in, you see it's all functional and it's very clean. The UI, we're starting to get there. Some ships do it better than others, excuse me. So yeah, I kind of like it. It's simple but effective, and sometimes that's just all you need, right? If it's stupid but it works, then it's not stupid. And what they've gone for here is, here's some MFDs. We've shoved them on some stands, and that, you know, very simple but very effective. So no complaints from me. And they are quite pretty with the light schemes they've got there. They've got that touch of alien vibe because MISC, you know, incorporate quite a lot of alien technology in their ships, and Mirai is the performance division of MISC, so it makes sense that they would incorporate some of that little traits from other ships, alien technology, etc., onto the ship. Makes complete sense. So as you can see, very snug. You're not getting any visibility from your 6 o'clock. You're going to be hard pressed to see anything left or right, so I'm glad they fixed the radar for most ships, because you are going to be relying on that quite a lot. Once you lock a target, though, it's simple enough. You just got to follow the UI, right? So just be wary that visibility and blind spots are a massive, massive influence on how you're going to fly this ship. Next up, then, we have the awesome thrust vectoring technology engines, which I really like them. I really do. I don't know why. I just think they look superb. And when they move and oscillate, it is also really cool. So the snub fighters have these as well, the Furies, and we all know they're pretty rapid and fun to fly around. Low flyers love those. I think they're really cool. Yeah, so it gives this ship quite a lot of maneuverability, especially as a heavy fighter. So nothing bad to say about them, really. And the way they look when the afterburners are on, they've gone for the gas burner look again, which I think looks super cool. Always got to check out the engines, man. I think my favourites are definitely like the blue gas flame, and Drake have their own orange flames of death that come out the back of their ships, like the Caterpillar. I like those too, but this one looks superb, and obviously thrust vectoring can only be a plus, especially for those close-up personal knife fights in a phone booth that you might find yourself in. So no complaints from me, really, and it adds to the aesthetic. They kind of look a little bit boggle-eyed, don't they, from the rear as you see him doing all that, but overall, aesthetically, the ship is very, very pleasing to look at. I kind of want one, I'm not going to lie, I kind of do. It might be an in-game purchase for this ship, sorry. Then we have 36912, 24 missiles in total, okay? So not only do you as the pilot have access to all the missiles in the world ever, but you also have the size 4s. So there is a lot of DPS coming from this ship. It really doesn't care. Now, I haven't taken this ship into a combat scenario, unfortunately. Like I said, I had to rent it, really pressed for time. So if any one of you own this ship, please let me know in the comments. Let me know how you get on with it. What's its strengths? What's its weaknesses? Because I'm interested in picking one up, to be quite honest with you. I absolutely just love the aesthetic of this ship. So there's two configurations. Obviously, we have the landing and flight configuration. And the animations for this are so freaking cool. You can see we have the 4 landing gear, the wings and arms, if you can call them wings. I prefer to call them arms at this point. They all maneuver around. It's brilliant how they've done that. I absolutely adore that. I think it looks so cool. So 4 landing gear, it has to have 4, I think, because of its unique shape. And then the way the arms fold back in and then the guns pop out. That's brilliant. Love that. Right, let's take a look at weapons and components. Okay, here we are back on our trusty DPS calculator. At the time of recording, always come back and refer to this because things chop and change frequently. But as it stands right now, you can see the Guardian MX is equipped with the following. We have the 4 size 4s, which are the Rhinos, which you could switch for anything that you particularly wanted. I'd be quite interested again in doing a split loadout for this. I think maybe running 2 Gatlings and then keeping 2 repeaters, just for that shield pen, and then the other size 4 repeaters just bringing their shields down even faster. Could be a good time. And then when you run out of bullets for your Gatlings, you've still got those repeaters on board, and 2 size 4s is still a lot of firepower. So that is an option. Missiles, 24 in total, and they are the Ignite 2, but you most certainly would probably want to swap these out for the Rattlers, which do quite a bit more damage, and they are infrared, so heat-seeking missiles, with a range of 5,000, so you'd have to get within 5 kilometers to fire those off, so quite close, but the range versus power, that's a classic, isn't it? Maybe you could get away with the stock ones, possibly. That'd be down to you. If you're shooting bots at the NPCs, then by all means you go with the Rattlers because they're stupid and you just eradicate them. Full stops for the shields. We have 2 size 2s, which, yeah, I can't attest to how they perform. If you own the MX and you've been using it, let me know in the comments how effective it is in combat. Like I said, I just did not have the time to record it and fly it and test everything. It's just 2 days with everything going on at the Victus wasn't enough. So power plants, we get 1 size 2, which is the Maelstrom, and then for coolers we have a Bracer, which is a size 1, and then we have a bigger sized cooler, which is the Arctic, which is a size 2. So we have a mix and match job for the coolers. So I guess it needs those with the 4 size 4 repeaters. Quite a lot of energy drain and cooling required, I would have thought. And then for quantum drives, we have the Crossfield, which is actually a good drive. I don't see any reasons to swap that out, really. Save yourself a bit of money. It's not a terrible drive. The Crossfield has been a good drive for a long time. I don't think it's had too many tweaks, but so many things up in the air, it's hard to tell. Plenty of paints for this ship as well, so if you wanted to spruce it up, by all means, that is available to you. Right, let's talk about some of the extra cool stuff that I've noticed on board the Mirai Guardian externally. So we've talked about how the visibility is poor, how the landing gear and the transformation from flight to landing is really cool. We've talked about the thrust vectoring, which is really cool. A little bit goofy at the back, but they are very cool. And just the general look of this ship looks poised, right? It looks like it's ready for business, open for business. Bring it home. Who wants a bounty? Yes, please. We'll take some of that action. Now, I do like the lighting. Seems to be better on this ship than some others. There isn't any particularly glaring lights from the cockpit's point of view. And it's not as difficult to land as I thought it would be because of its unique shape. Although I will say you do have to be on quite a bit of steady land. I've accidentally crashed it a few times trying to land in places that weren't completely flat. So you can see here the 4 contact points just about fit on top of this hillock, if you could call it that. This little bump on the ground. But other than that, the lighting's superb. It has this red trim on the stock paint that runs around the edges of the ship, which kind of brings it into a bit of life. The panel lines really are a little bit more faded than, let's say, the last ship I reviewed, which was the Asgard. They're not quite as announced and visible. They're subtle, but you can still see them. They're more prominent on the engines themselves. If you see, you can see the panel lines, the nuts, the bolts, all the stuff I want to see when they're, building these ships, because, they're expensive and I don't want any shortcuts. So attention to detail is a key part of what makes me enjoy reviewing these ships, and the Guardian passes. There's lots of intricate details on there to be found on the top of the ship as well. So no real complaints from me on how it looks. I think the only major negative, if you compare it to the Guardian standard variant, is the fact that it doesn't have a bed, and both these ships have terrible, terrible visibility. Okay, so now we're going to take a look inside the ship. And as you can see, it's just mostly really cool monitors, you know, no particular images this time, unlike the Asgard. However, plenty of component access, so you're going to be able to fix stuff when engineering is going to be so crucial. I can't wait to see how it's all going to work. The good thing about the way the ship is laid out is literally, if you take any damage, you just got to get out your seat, turn around, go through a door, and boom, you've got access to everything. The downside is there is no immediate get out of jail free card. So if you do get beaten up quite badly, getting out the ship might be your death. It's going to take you a while. I don't think it has an ejection seat, and I don't think the canopy disconnects like it does on the Shrike, for example. I might have missed that, but I don't think it does, which means escaping in a hurry could be your downfall. So trying to repair these components as quickly as possible while you're still breathing is going to be key to survival in this ship. We'll see how it plays out. Of course, I've mentioned it numerous times now, but the game is evolving nearly every single patch. It's very hard to keep on track with what's been buffed, what's been nerfed, what's been replaced, what's getting binned, etc. So always refer to your DPS calculator. That's all I'll say. Right, let's move on. Okay, it's tour time. And we like tour time because we get a sense of scale. We get to look around this wonderful beast. And I think the game has reset my mouse smoothing, so it might be a little bit jagged. I apologise for that. It keeps doing that. It's infuriating. Anyway, make our way round the front, shall we? And as you can see, 4 landing gear. Nice elevator at the back. That's how you get in and out the ship. We move down the middle here in between the 2 arms, or wings. Wing arms. We can see our size 4s nicely tucked away there. We have some thrusters. Maneuvering thrusters at the end of those arms at the bottom. Those lights at the top are pretty good. They don't shine in the pilot's face, which is nice. And we can actually get right underneath here. I like those. Like intake vents. And the mesh grille looks great. No complaints from me. We have some yellow and black warning stickers. So there is detail here. You know, I don't think I'll get under here to see. Yes, okay. Always check the gear wells for shortcuts. There's no shortcuts here. Good job. Even you can see the detailing on how the wires are tethered to the hull of the ship, which is really nice. So we'll get back up. Some weathering as well, which is nice to see. So it is a very poised looking ship, isn't it? Even when it's on the ground, it looks ready for action. You know, open for business. So we'll go around the side of the left, right arm here. Some thrusters, another landing gear. Panel lines look great. I'm not really sure if it has personal storage on the outside. I don't think it does, because with a ship that has internals, I think it should be in there, right? I don't think there's an extra storage bin on the outside. I might be wrong on that. Like I said, I just didn't have enough time. 2 days is just not enough, Invictus. A week would have been nice. I could have thoroughly tested everything. But when you're against the clock, you do the best you can with the time you have. I do like the back. It's really, really pretty cool. All right, let's get in then. So we'll get in the elevator, which has become frosted courtesy of the weather. Nice. Up we go. Okay, so we're in the back now. You can see we've got component access, the battery system, a few monitors. Here we've got the quantum drive. I think that's all for in here. So we'll go through. There's the component access for that particular component. We've got 2 stacked on each other here, which is fine. We'll push on through. Close the door. More component access. Engineering 02. Let's see what this says. We're very low on 2 mass and very low on limit, and we need some more SMT. So if you guys could go fetch that for me, because apparently we need that, whatever that might be. We have another one here, so we've got some fuses. And another little component box down here. Okay. Let's see what this is. Can we, please, game? Whoa, whoa, whoa. Yeah. Mouse smoothing. Stop it. So these are all critical numbers. Okay. No idea what they do, but we don't want to see red. That's my assumption. It is really smart, actually, how they've got like mini component bays. It's kind of unique, right? Especially as 2 of the coolers aren't the same size. We've got size 1 and size 2. Emergency lighting. And then we have our engineering terminal coming soon, trademark. So, power plant in here. Personal storage, there we go, yeah. Yeah, makes sense. As you can see, for lunch I'm having 3 cans of fizz and a burrito. So essentially, we've lost a bed in here and a living quarters compared to the standard variant, and it's made way for all the extra components. I prefer this, to be honest. Go out, kill things to death, land. You know, store the ship. It's the sacrifice you have to have for all this extra firepower. We have a weapon locker here as well, which is really cool. Does this fit in here? I don't think it does. Oh, it does. It does fit in here. Perfect. For a second I thought it was just like a pistol weapon locker. Yeah, that's awesome. So, any corpses that you create, you got some extra room now for when you loot them. Nicely lit in here and quite ambient. I quite enjoy inside the ship, and it's got those telltale red lights that kind of remind me of Vandal a little bit, but it's a nice atmospheric ship for sure. Some more graphs, some important switches. Let's pretend that they work. Yeah, it's much bigger internally than you think it is from the outside, right? It's actually quite deceptive and very clever how SIG have put this ship together. I have to admit, I do want one. I do want one. I think I'm just going to have to get one in game. I do. It's so cool. The lighting and everything, it's really cool. So sci-fi, and it is a very unique looking ship, and I like the ships that stand out. Right, let's get into the cockpit then. So I'm not sure if you can enter this ship from the front. I might have missed it. Like I said, I'm really relying on you guys that have this ship to get me up to speed and just tell me your thoughts and theories of it. How does it handle in combat is the main one, because I think it slaps, you know, judging by everything we've seen here. But like I said, the MFDs are fantastic. The visibility is just, it's horrific. Look at the struts that come down, and it's brutal. So, can we get the armor to come down? Yeah, okay. Weapons, all the stuff we're used to, but the arms with the guns, I mean, you're not seeing anything behind you, you're not seeing anything to your left, you're not seeing anything to your right. It's, it's quite a interesting cockpit, but I am very, very pleased that they've fixed these radars. I cannot tell you how much of an improvement it is, and they're getting there, right? They're getting there, and it is important that the radar works in a ship like this because, well, look around, right? Just look around. So we have the usual buttons. We have a HOSAS system, dual sticks. We have like this really cool roller coaster harness that comes down and straps you in, which is really nice for when you're pulling those high G maneuvers. But yeah, this visibility is absolutely horrendous. But, you know, You got to roll with the punches sometimes, and there are trade-offs, and this one is a pretty big trade-off. Like I said, what's the point in having all these fancy sensors if we can't use them? But seeing those guns shoot right in front of you is a very, very pleasant experience. So there we go, guys. That was my video on the Mirai MX the MX Guardian. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, you know what buttons to press, and I will see you all soon. Cheers.